peace through tyranny is one of the most chillingly efficient taglines in fiction. For over 40 years, Megatron has stood as the definitive counterweight to Optimus Prime. But if you look past the fusion cannon and Buckethead's silhouette, you find a character who has been rewritten, reimagined, and psychologically deconstructed more than almost any other villain in modern pop culture. He isn't just a bad guy who wants to blow up the universe. Megatron is a case study in how noble intentions can turn into absolute corruption. He is a reflection of how society's deep-seated systemic failures create its own worst nightmares. Today, we're diving deep into the spark of the Decepticon leader by analyzing 4 of his most distinct, fascinating modern incarnations. The primal monster of Michael Bay's live-action films, the unhinged dark energon addict of Transformers Prime, the brilliant, patient mob boss of Transformers Animated, and the tragic, desperate ideology failure of Netflix's War for Cybertron trilogy. I'm Lullaby One. Let's get into this. By looking at these 4 versions, we don't just see a changing art style. We see a masterclass in how to build a tyrant. Let's start where a massive generation of fans first met him in live action, the Michael Bay films. Now, Bayverse gets quite a lot of flack for patronizing explosions over deep character writing, and to an extent, that's fair. In these movies, Megatron is stripped of his political backstory. We don't hear about his days as a miner or a gladiator fighting for equality. Instead, this Megatron is treated less like a political leader and more like a primordial force of nature. He is pure, unchecked, raw, impulsive violence. Look at his physical design. In the first movie, unlike his traditional geometric design, without the blocky looks, Bayverse Megatron is more jagged, sharp, biomechanical teeth and claws. He looks less like a sentient machine and more like an apex predator made of chrome and hatred. But if we trace his arc across the first 3 films, an accidental piece of brilliant writing happens. The tragedy of degradation. In the 2007 film, he is unstoppable. He literally rips Jazz in half with his bare hands. But after being revived in Revenge of the Fallen, he is subservient to the Fallen. By Dark the Moon, he's hiding in Africa, half his face blown off, covered in rust, wrapped in a canvas tarp, scaring away zebras. This version of Megatron shows us the ultimate fate of a warlord who runs only through physical dominance, when your entire identity is being based on the strongest stain in the room. What happens when you lose a fight? You become pathetic. When Sentinel Prime tells him in Dark the Moon, "You didn't bow to me, you bowed to the need for a savior," it exposes the core weakness of this version. He became a beggar in his own empire, completely reliant on others because he lacked the philosophical foundation to rebuild himself. He is a warning of what happens when a revolution is built entirely on rage, without a blueprint for what comes next. If the movie version is a feral animal, Transformers Prime gives off something infinitely more dangerous. Megatron as a terrifying, charismatic cult leader. Transformers Prime leans heavily into his gladiator roots from the pits of Kaon. This Megatron is a psychological mastermind who understands exactly how to manipulate the desperate, the broken, and the power-hungry. He didn't just build an army, he built a religious movement around himself, fueled by Dark Energon, the literal blood of the dark god Unicron. What makes Prime's version so fascinating is his relationship with power. He doesn't want to rule Cybertron, he wants to dominate reality itself. His willingness to pollute his own lifeblood with Dark Energon shows a man who has completely lost his own mind, his own mythos. He believes he is inherently superior and that he can control godlike cosmic forces without being consumed by them. And look at how he manages his inner circle. In most media, Megatron's tolerance for Starscream betrayal makes no sense. But in Transformers Prime, it's a deliberate, sadistic game. Megatron keeps Starscream alive because breaking Starscream's spirit over and over again feeds his own ego. He doesn't want mindless loyalty. He wants absolute, terrified submission from people who only wish they could overthrow him. But no, they never can. But the true genius of Transformers Prime Megatron is his ending. After being possessed and tortured by Unicron, the Chaos Brainer, he experiences the very thing he inflicted on millions for eons: absolute, helpless subjugation. When he's finally freed and Optimus Prime braces for one last epic battle, Megatron does something no one expected in Beast Hunters. He looks at the ruins of Cybertron, looks at his own hands and says,
"No!" What? Why?
Because I now know the true meaning of oppression, and have thus lost my taste for inflicting it.
It's one of the greatest redemption, or more accurately, awakening moments in Western animation. He doesn't become an Autobot. He just realizes that his entire life's work was a disease. He leaves, not in chains, but self-exiled, broken by the realization of his own horrific philosophy. Now, let's completely flip the script. If Prime Megatron is a loud, screaming, chaotic gladiator, Transformers Animated gives us the exact opposite. Here, Megatron is an elegant, soft-spoken, and cold-blooded mob boss. Or as I like to refer to him, the elegant bully. And ironically, he's at his most terrifying when he can't even move. For the entire first season of Animated, Megatron is literally just a severed head. He has no body, no weapons, no physical leverage. Yet, he completely dominates the plot. This version highlights Megatron's raw, terrifying intellect. He doesn't scream at his subordinates. He speaks with an aristocratic calmness that makes your oil run cold, or your blood run cold. He tricks Isaac Sumdac into thinking he's a benevolent, non-sentient alien robot friend, using human technology to secretly rebuild his body under the Autobots' noses. When he finally gets his body back, the contrast between him and Optimus Prime is brilliant. In Animated, Optimus isn't the grand leader of the Autobots. He's a low-level space bridge repair technician. Megatron doesn't even bother to remember Optimus' name for most of the series. To Megatron, Optimus isn't a rival. He's an annoying insect standing in the way of a grand political destiny. Animated Megatron represents the terrified efficiency of a ruthless CEO. He doesn't waste energy on petty sadism. Every move, every assassination, every stolen piece of tech is a calculated investment toward his ultimate goal, returning to Cybertron, claiming what he believes is his birthright. He is a tyrant, dressed in the demeanor of a statesman. Finally, we arrive at the most politically complex, morally gray version of the character ever put on screen, in my opinion. The Netflix War for Cybertron trilogy Megatron. In this universe, we are dropped into the literal final days of the Civil War. Cybertron is dying, the Energon grids are offline, and the Decepticons are actually winning. But it's a horrific victory. This Megatron is not a monster. He is a deeply tragic, deeply flawed revolutionary who started a war for all the right reasons, but stayed in it so long that he became the very thing he fought to destroy. Unlike other versions, WFC Megatron is driven by a profound sense of class guilt and desperation. He remembers the oppression of the Autobot caste system. He remembers when his people were forced to toil in the dark mines while the Autobot elite lived in luxury. He wanted to save Cybertron. But his fatal flaw is his inability to accept any solution that doesn't end with his absolute control. He suffers from the classic dictator trap. Only I can fix this, therefore any atrocity I commit to win is justified. When he decides to use the Allspark to reformat the lives of all living Transformers, effectively erasing their free will, he convinces himself it's an act of mercy. He genuinely believes that a world of mindless, peaceful slaves is better than a world tearing itself apart. Watch his eyes in this series. They're blazing with manic energy like the Prime version. They look exhausted. He is a man crushed under the weight of his own choices, constantly having to double down on worse and worse crimes, because to stop now would mean admitting that the millions who died under his banner died for absolutely nothing. He is the most human Megatron we've ever seen, which makes his descent into villainy the hardest to watch. So, who is Megatron? Is he the savage beast from the live-action films? The manipulative cult leader of Transformers Prime? The cold aristocrat of Transformers Animated? Or the broken idealist of War for Cybertron? The truth is, he has to be all of them. Megatron's brilliance as a character is that he is a multi-factored warning about the corrupting nature of power. Optimus Prime represents who we all hope we could be under pressure. Unyielding, compassionate, fundamentally fair. Megatron represents what happens when we let our frustrations with a broken system turn into a desire for absolute control. He reminds us that the line between a freedom fighter and a tyrant is terrifyingly thin, and that sometimes the most dangerous villain isn't the one who wants to destroy the world. Like I said in the Barricade video, sometimes it's the ones who want to police it. They think they are the only ones who can save it. Thanks for watching. I'm Lullaby1 signing off. Please hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments which version of the Decepticon leader is your absolute favorite. And as always, keep calm and hail Megatron. See you soon.